welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome.
Good morning, CSL St. George. It's my honor to be with you today. I am Star Starrett, and I'll be guiding you through a meditation to just help you relax before our service. Thank you for being here. The title of this meditation is Yes, It Will Be Done. I claim my new life. Yes, co-resonance with my divine nature. I claim my new life now. Feel this inside yourself. I quiet my mind to understand the language of God, and its tone is like hearing a field of orchids sing or a tree talk to me with all my senses at once in a moment of eternity. Yes, I claim this divine co-resonance. I have the mental capacity to live life through my heart. No matter what I see, my heart sees goodness, no longer good and evil. The good has won, and I belong with it, my heart. Think of these words as you speaking to yourself. Just breathe. My mind is in my heart, no longer separate. My true mind, a servant to the heart, love. It will be done in my mind on earth as it is in heaven, my heart. Here, now, eternally so. I listen. I am always on the high watch, receptive to good, which is in the very air we all breathe and the ground we walk on. Not only am I the receptor, I am the conductor. Understanding through my experiences, note after note, the oneness of it all. God is in the air I breathe. I rest in the breath often throughout my day. The goodness fills my lungs with unity. Union is done. You, we, are in witness of God always. We are witnessed always. Be receptive as it moves through you, for you, and as you. And as you move, more doors open for you to walk through, and higher rooms to understand this unity. There's a quote here from Paul Selig. I am one with the source of all things. I am receptive to who I truly am. And as I agree to this, I align to my experience of it through all my senses, in developed or undeveloped states, so that I may begin to know in my own way the true self in union with all things. It is your own authority at the level of your true self to say yes. It will be done, and so it is. Release the denial of God, all judgment. Yes, the resounding yes of the presence of God is not cacophony. It is not silent. It is an ever-present knowing within. I call it the hum of the absolute, gentle, soft, like a sigh of a breath. Pause now and feel your breathing. Decide today that on this day, I choose to reknow myself, all aspects of self, as worthy of God. And as I agree to this, I say yes to the release of the denial of the divine that I have held consciously or unconsciously, that contributes to my belief in separation. As I say yes, I allow these aspects of self to move into a new encounter with the potentiality that all things may be made new, inclusive of those aspects of self I have denied the light in, or anything or anyone I would deny the divine in. As I say yes, I am reknown. As I say yes, I am reclaimed. And as I say yes, I align every aspect of my being in completeness to the truth of all that is, the source of all things, in love, which I know of as God. I say this of my own free will. I am willing to know. I am willing to see. I am willing to become who I am in truth. Let that claim sink in. Feel the truth of your desire to be this oneness, this yes, this it will be done. Get used to the idea that change is the only constant here in life, that things can be released by you, through you, in perfect ways. It requires your willingness to let go of what you've held so tightly, for that stops you from receiving more. So get used to letting go. You are more honored than you know. Realize that you have your very own upper room. It awaits you. And as you say yes, you claim the light, and it becomes the gateway to the kingdom. Breathe in again and again. Breathe in the beauty that surrounds you this day. There is truth in every breath. There is gold in every experience. This is the service that I came here for, to share this light, this knowing, this immense love that covers us all. No longer will I deny the truth, no matter what it looks like. I see peace. No longer do I see war. I see peace. I hold peace in my heart. Breathe in, breathe out. Get ready for our session today with CSL by opening your eyes and looking around and seeing the perfection that already exists in you, around you, for you, and as you. Yes, and so it is.
You are welcome here, just the way you are. No more hiding tears, no more covering scars. You are welcome, holy welcome. You are welcome here, just the way you want to be. Bring your deepest hopes and all your wildest dreams. You are welcome, holy welcome, holy welcome.
Good morning, CSL St. George, and happy April. We are so happy that you joined us today. My name is Gwen Hadley. I'll be guiding you through this service today. And before I mention who's here with us, I hope you all tuned in for Star's beautiful, beautiful meditation. She wrote that. If you notice, she was reading it. That's why, because she wrote it, and it was just beautiful. So we are here at CSL St. George, an open, loving, and inclusive community that supports thinking creatively and living a deeply spiritual life. I'm going to read our mission, purpose, vision, and values. So our mission is to provide spiritual tools for personal and global transformation. Our purpose is to awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence, to awaken our community to divine nature and the greatest expression of who we are. Our vision is to see a world that works for everyone. And our values include love, participation, enthusiasm, acceptance, contribution, cooperation, and humor. So this week's service team, Marina is behind the scenes making all the slides come up and keeping us on task. As I said, I thank Star for the beautiful meditation I'm hosting. You will notice I'm going to introduce Cheryl in a different way. We've given her a nickname, and it's Shay or Shay Ann. So you may hear both of those, but that's our precious Cheryl, Shay. So our invocation and reading will be by our practitioner, Bill Smith, and Reverend Joe Kovach. And I have a little surprise about him I'll talk about in a minute. But before I do that, I'm going to turn it over to Cheryl. Good morning, Cheryl.
Hello, Gwen. Good morning. So glad to be here. Okay, so we're going to do an opening song here. And at first, I just want you to listen to these lyrics. Just hear them, hear their truth, and just let that sort of wash over you. And then after our beautiful invocation, the lyrics will be up and we can sing together. In the presence of the One, in the presence of the truth, all is well, all is healed, all is well, all is well. In the presence of the One, in the presence of the truth, all is healed, all is whole, all is well, all is well. All is well. Now we're going to invite Bill Smith, our lovely practitioner, to pray us in. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Shay. How are you?
Good, thank you.
Yeah, all is well. So I will be leading us in our invocation this morning. So I invite you to close your eyes and join me. As we open this service, we do so in the presence of the One. And as our topic today is creativity, I know that this One is the source, the only source of all creativity in this universe, known, unknown, and otherwise. I know that the Spirit is active in me, and that the creative Spirit flows through me in every action and every word that I do. And as we are all one, I know that everyone within the sound of my voice is one with this One. I know that today's service is blessed. I know that the talk is illuminative and that the music is stirring. And I know that as we open the channels of creativity, God flows through every one of us and enlightens us and brings us upward in that creative spiral that is life. I am grateful in advance for this service, and I just let it be so by saying yes to the yes. And so it is.
So it is. Thank you, Bill. So Marina's going to put these lyrics on screen, and I'd like you to affirm these words with me as we sing together. In the presence of the One, in the presence of the truth, all is well, all is healed, all is well, all is well. In the presence of the One, in the presence of the truth, all is well, all is healed, all is well, all is well. In the presence of the One, in the presence of the truth, all is healed, all is whole, all is well, all is well. One more time. In the presence of the One, in the presence of the truth, all is healed, all is whole, all is well, all is well, all is well. And now Bill is going to come back and read our sacred covenant.
Thank you, Shay. Our sacred covenant. I invite you to read along with me, or if you're more comfortable, you can just close your eyes and let the words flow through you. There is only one life. That life is God's life. That life is perfect. That life is my life now. In knowing that I am one with this life, I know that I am one with all of its blessed expressions, which include the presence of a new minister for my beloved spiritual community. Because I know that the highest purpose of my new minister is to express God, I therefore know that my new minister reveals wholeness. I further know that my new minister is the fulfillment of that which we believe, for it is written by our founder, Ernest Holmes, "Let us learn to draw the divine substance down into our own lives, and as freely as it has been given to us, let us give it to others. Thus alone shall we be made whole." As I stand in agreement with my beloved community, I see my new minister revealed before me as growing the center in joy and prosperity. I now intend to experience my new minister in full cooperation and agreement with my community, knowing the truth about myself, for I live the presence and law of God. I demonstrate wisdom through a mature understanding of the wholeness of life. I am accountable and willing to take full responsibility for my actions. I participate in and support the nurturance and guidance of the community. I act from wholeness and congruence in thought, word, and action. I walk the talk. I embrace, and here's where you express your personal truth. I now accept the highest expression of my new minister into my life, knowing that they are revealed in a way that expresses God and serves the highest and greatest good for all who are touched by their presence. I am so grateful, and so it is. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Bill. So, as has been noted, we are in a new month. Happy April. Our theme this year is Living Everyday Wonder. This month we are focusing on creativity, and our topic today is say yes to the yes. Yes to the yes. What is that? Our divine purpose, our inner guidance. Let's see, motivational speaker and author Marshall Silver, he offers this. He says, you can never get more by saying no. You can hold a current position by saying no, but you can only move forward by saying yes. And Ernest Holmes, in the practical application of the science of mind, he reminds us that the action of the law never changes, but the direction of the action is always up to us. It's always up to us. And this song is just a little snippet of my journey saying yes to the yes, and enjoy. I was raised on bikes and boards, kept to myself till the music roared. I found my place, jumped in the pack, till the doubt came sweeping back, 'cause fear, so cavalier, is dressed for war. Those lost wandering years I spent just fitting in and paying rent, one honeymoon and then the next, searching for the one that best would fix the ache. For heaven's sake, I got to repent. The dash in the middle might seem concise. That little line is what we call life. The start and end dates, they mark your spree, but how you live is your gratuity. The ebb and flow is a work of art. What you believe becomes your heart. The days, they tend to wax and wane. I took my time on steep terrain, knowing that each moment brings a perfect gift. Without the strings, find gratitude in every mood, and love will reign. Now I'm old, not sure about wise, but I learned the art of sacrifice and wake each day with a little girl who owns my heart and rocks my world. No absolutes, just grab your boots and improvise. The dash in the middle might seem concise. That little line is what we call life. The start and end dates, they mark your spree, but how you live is your gratuity. The ebb and flow is a work of art. What you believe becomes your heart. I was raised on bikes and boards, kept to myself till the music roared. Okay, Quinn, back to you.
Thank you, Shay. Wow, what a fun song. And Shay wrote this beautiful song. So thank you. Have a wonderful afternoon.
Thanks, Gwen.
Okay, so now is the time I get to it's been one of those days, introduce our new candidate for our minister candidate, Reverend Joe Kovach. He's going to speak to you today. You're all familiar with Joe. He's spoken so many times and has always felt part of this family. So listen closely. We would love any feedback. You see it there on the screen, Marina Anderson at CSL St. George. Just please, any feedback, contact that email address, and we'd love to hear what's on your mind. So with that, now I get to introduce Joe. Good morning, Joe.
Good morning. You guys are so creative. Everybody's writing and doing their own stuff. You got,
I know, right?
Authoring meditations, authoring songs.
I know.
It's a hard app to follow.
We're a talented group, so take it away, Joe.
Thank you, Gwen. I appreciate it. And good morning, everybody. Thank you for having me once again. And as Gwen mentioned, I've been doing this for a little while for you all, and I just love the opportunity to grow. I'm a newly ordained, not ordained yet, but new minister. I just passed my exams about a month ago, and kind of knew about 6 months ago that this is something that I wanted to do and apply for. I love St. George as a spiritual community. And, I'm going to leave it to God and leave it to you. And I'm just going to do my thing today. And so knowing that there might be some new people watching, I want to invite you to recognize whatever I hear today. Be open to something new, hearing something new for you that just kind of makes you think a little bit. Or maybe you hear something that you've heard before and be open to hear it in a new way. That helps us grow as well. And also, I give you permission to say, I don't like that at all. And that's perfect, because what we do teach here is that we're all on an individual journey of spirituality. And so some of this may just like, I just don't agree with that. And that's perfect too. So let's get on with this saying yes to the yes, because I'm excited. I've been excited all week to the point where I had so many thoughts in my head when I sat down on Friday to put the talk down. It came out like a splatter plot. It was like, and it was like too much, too wide. So after a beautiful day yesterday of listening to Ricky Byer live in concert, really helped me focus quite a bit. And I'm going to always give a shout out to my wife, who helps me focus my focus. So saying yes to the yes, it means a number of things. So again, I'm going to share what it means to me. You've already heard Shay talk about, well, maybe we're saying yes to our desire. I'm talking about when I hear a yes to the yes, I'm thinking about saying yes to all the creations and stuff that shows up and the way that it changes our life. We could also be talking about saying yes to that infinite power and infinite presence that we're saying yes to. And there's a little bit more. So what I want first is to kind of focus on, what many of us are really trying to do, and that's make our lives better in some way. And so I want you to take a minute, close your eyes if you're comfortable, but I want you to think about something that in the past, even if it's recent, that you accomplished, that when it showed up, you felt that yes within you. Maybe it was a finally, but it was a yes. Think about that just for a moment. For some of us, we get that yes when maybe we got a new position, a promotion, something changed at our employment. Or maybe we met that perfect partner, no matter what stage it's in. Or maybe we recognize in a deeper way we're in that perfect relationship. Or we receive a passing grade. Or maybe it's the all is clear on a medical exam. For some of us, that yes is feeling like you finally beat that addiction that had been ruling your life. Or we just get over a hump and we start taking care of ourselves the way that we know we should have, right? For years, and sometimes, let's admit, it could be even decades. But we do it and we feel that yes. Maybe it's also we finally say yes to ourselves to our own growth and recovery. And we get a therapist, we get a counselor that helps us change our thinking, helps us recognize our own magnificence. And pointing out, to be real, that none of us gets that yes simply by saying yes, right? Otherwise, it would be so easy. We would get everything we wanted and say, yes, I want this, and yes, I want that. But we know that's not how it works. Excuse me. And at the same time, we never really do it alone. And we're going to recognize that. Yes, as you know, that we talk about in Science of Mind, that we are each individualized celebrations of the divine, that we're connected to one another, right? It's all oneness. And yet we are unique expressions of the divine, creating uniquely. We each have our own yes. We are more than just, as Rumi says, single drops in the ocean. We know that that whole ocean is in every single drop, each one of us. We have access to, because we are that infinite presence, right? We're spiritual beings living this human existence, that we are that whole ocean of wonder. We're the magnificence living right here, right now in this physical world. It's not out there. We know that. It's right here. What does Ernest Holmes say? Well, let me share the first quote. He says, "There is an irresistible, universal, and divine urge within us to be happy, to be whole, and to express the fullness of life. The latent divinity within us stirs our imagination and proclaims itself through every creative endeavor. It has produced sages, saints, and saviors, and will, when permitted by us, create a new world in which war, poverty, sickness, and famine will have disappeared." That's quite a yes. Can we say yes to that yes? Well, again, that might feel too big, but in the end, it's still, in the beginning, it always starts with us. It starts with us. And in order to get to experience that yes, we have to come from a place of understanding that it's what we think about and feel about most often. That's what shows up in our lives. That's how it begins. It is truly a journey of creative thought and feeling. We hear quite a bit about this idea of changing our thoughts, changing our lives, but it's the energy that we give our thoughts that matter. And it was, I believe Shay shared that quote by Ernest that had that saying in there, that point. All right, we're going to talk a little bit more about how that law and that energy works in just a bit. And this journey of creativity feels basically what we want to experience. It feels like a freer, fuller, more expanded life. We have to wake up consciously first. We have to begin to be self-aware. And usually this happens through some struggle, through some life challenge, through a trauma, through recognizing we're not where we want to be, and sometimes who we want to be. And we choose to call out for help. We may not call out for help in words that we actually speak, but our vibration, our energy is just yearning for somebody, someone, something to help us. And every time we are answered. Science of Mind, we teach, right? There is one power, one presence that is greater than all of its creation. And yet it is here to be used by its creations, us, and it can never be used up because it's infinite. It can never be exhausted, right? So one power, one presence. It is truly everything, everyone, all of life, all that is. We have this blessedness of being alive. We have consciousness, and we can use the creations to live this perfect life, and it's infinite. Now, I know some people out there going, well, there's a limit to this and a limit to that. And what I'm going to say is, in this talk, I can't go that deep, but look, ask, seek, and you will understand. And we're not just a part of this power. I'm not just a small part. We are this power. We are this creativity, this divine creativity itself. If we, as we say, we live, move, and have our being in God, at the same time, then God is living, moving, and having its being within us. This is something that I learned in a deeper way in my studies about Kabbalism, being a Kabbalist. And the Kabbalah talks about this, that we need God, but God needs us. Each would be incomplete without the other. So in other words, our yes is a divine yes. There's no separation, right? So whatever it is that we choose we want, okay, then that's divine calling. And yet we recognize when we have this calling, we're not calling out there. We're not calling out there. And there's a quote by Raymond Charles Barker, which I'm going to share. And he says, I love this. He says, we don't call on the name of Edison to turn on the light or the name of God to turn on power. We need only to recognize it, that's a capital I-T, it, as in the presence and source, and know it is there. So when we talk about the power and the presence, the divine, God, source, whatever word helps you understand that it is here right now. We just have to be open to it. And that's what this quote is talking about, right? I could say, I want light, all I want. I could say yes to the light. But until I get up, recognize it's there and turn on the lamp, I'm not going to experience that type of light. We're talking about electricity, not the light of our soul and spirit. Okay, so what we're talking about here is saying yes to our yes takes some individual action. We can express this through our creativity, through our spiritual practices. But until we recognize it, we're kind of living in default mode or unconsciously. What Michael Beckwith calls a to-me life. Until we're self-aware, until we recognize this power, presence, and the law, which is we'll call it the part of God for simplistic terms, that says yes. It's like the soil in the ground. We plant our thought seeds into it, and the soil never says no. The soil doesn't say, I don't want your tomatoes today. I want to grow pumpkins. The soil always says yes. And because we can say that God loves us so, it's always saying yes. The law is always saying yes. So that's why it's so important to get to this point of being self-aware. If I believe that life is constantly just happening to me, that everything's out there coming at me, then I'm going to live in a kind of unconscious way where I don't recognize my power. And we live by what in science of mind is called the law of averages. And I love this term because in essence, it kind of is a crapshoot. Until we recognize that we can direct our thoughts and feelings specifically towards what we want to say yes to, then it's kind of like saying, I want that. And I reach over here and I grab a bag of just random thoughts and random possibilities. And that's what shows up. And that's why if we all there, and maybe you're there right now, it's like, I know kind of what I want, but that showed up and then that showed up. And it's just a confusing, winding road with a lot of dead ends. And it's once that we discover this power, once I become aware, and remember, awareness is the key to change, right? We can't change something we're not aware of. So as I begin to recognize the power and presence as me, that I recognize that I have this power that creates universes, and I can direct it, I can be a channel of it to co-create or change my life from in the smallest way to what we call the biggest way, and that's different for everybody. We recognize what's called the law of cause and effect, right? That we are causing what's going on. And you heard earlier about taking in your covenant, about we take, and I call it radical responsibility for what's showing up in our lives. So in other words, whatever's showing up, whether it's we're doing it consciously or not, we're saying yes to it. So let's hear from another attitude, which is Thomas Troward. You may or may not be aware of who he is. He was a big influence on our founder, Ernest Holmes. And he says this. He says, you are individualized spirit. Therefore, what you contemplate as the law of your being becomes the law of your being. That's about as simple as we can say it. In the Bible, it said, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. So what is that saying? As we think it As we feel it, we become it. As we become it, we outpicture it, and that's what shows up in our lives. So if we're not liking what's going on, we start within. And here's the thing, once I become more aware, I feel more powerful. I feel more like the creator of my own life. And that saying yes to the yes, it feels better. It feels more hopeful. It feels more promising. It feels more fuller, more freer, like I said. Excuse me. And you'll recognize at some point, your life has kind of switched from it happening to you, living a, or to me, life, unconsciously, to consciously living a by me life. And we get fired up. You know, I know when I first started out and we talk about the more simple manifestations, or we call it sometimes demonstrations. I'm demonstrating this process of like, you know, I get the green lights and I get the parking spaces or whatever it is. I still love those, I call them smaller things, right? Because they're not necessarily life-changing. And at the same time, they are, because all those small things are little yeses that kind of motivate us, inspire us, give us the courage to get to what we call the bigger yeses. And in the mind of God, there is no big or small. It's just our own thoughts and feelings about it, our own, the meaning that we give on something. And so I say this because let's not discount the green lights in the parking places, or the manifestation of, you know, when we're trying to have fun, of a cup of coffee or someone showing up or calling us. This is all divine communication, right? So we've made this switch now that we feel powered up. The power is within us. And as Raymond Hallowell, there we go, says, and I love this, he says, the great self-evident fact, which cannot be too often repeated, is that when we change our thinking for the better, we automatically change our lives for the better. Leave this up for a minute, please, because I want everybody to make sure you have enough time to take that in. Now, for me, this is what I call simply profound. Is it simple to change our lives? Well, to change our thinking. And the answer is yes. It sounds like a very simple thing. Yet I can tell you through my personal experiences, when I began to try to do this, it takes some time. It takes some practice. And yet you get there. I got there to the point where I recognized that my life was changing. Of course, I won't say always, I felt I wanted it faster, right? I'm doing this work. Where is it? Why isn't it changing? Be patient. It's just like, again, planting a seed in the soil. Okay, we don't dig it up every 3 days to see where it's at. We have to trust the process, trust the divine nature and the divine action to know that it's happening. At the perfect divine time and the perfect divine way, it will show up in our lives. And in essence, once we align with it, and that's what I want to talk about next, is this idea of saying yes. When we say yes to the yes, we're choosing to spiritually align with what we are saying yes about. So I'm saying yes to being more healthy in my life. And now I'm going to say yes to recognizing that I'm not doing it by myself. Okay, little Joe's not doing this. As much as I may want to willpower it through, it's so much easier to recognize that, you know what, I don't know how this whole world came about, but I know that there's a power and a presence that did it. And I can allow that power and presence to flow through me, recognizing that my thoughts and feelings are going to tell it, dictate where it to go. So in other words, when we know what we want to say yes to, in other words, how to change our life, we have to put it on, like clothing. Put it on us and put ourselves into our yes. So the more that we do that we become our yes, then we're really recognizing and we're saying that we have faith in the divine to bring it to us. Our job is not to control the how. Okay, just like we still don't know exactly how electricity is created, like we know how, like from atoms and all that, but we know how to use it to make our lives better, to make our lives more comfortable. Okay, so there's a law of electricity, we can use it. And there's a law of what we call the law, which again, think of it simply just like soil. What we're thinking goes into it, we release it. in our affirmative prayer, our last step is releasing. We say, okay, this is what I want. Now I trust. And we pray and know and put it on our yes until it shows up. And if it's not showing up, then we just continue to work on our spiritual alignment. In other words, our belief in what we're asking for. Okay? So I want you to stop for a minute and just breathe. I'm excited because think about what we're actually saying here. Like we are literally collaborating with that which we call God, Spirit, the divine. Right? And we're collaborating with this all-powerful presence. We're recognizing it everywhere. And this communication is literally showing up in our lives. Now, this is always happening. It's when we choose to become, again, this self-aware spiritual being that we tap into the recognition and the power of our own choices. We are recognizing our oneness with it and co-creating this human experience, this human physical reality. We're each doing this. So in other words, we are how God expresses in this world. Without you, without me, in our physical forms, God's ideas are unrealized. And this again goes back to the Kabbalah, and it's a great study. They go very deep into it, but again, the essence is they, from the beginning, believe that God, and they say God needs us as we need God, right? Back and forth. And it's what we're thinking about here is also basically reflected in what they call heaven. And so, and we can just think about it in God's mind. There's only one mind, and we're not separate. So in other words, what I'm thinking about is, in a sense, what God's thinking about. So why would God say no to us? Right? It wouldn't. So we are the means for the ideas that touch lives, that touch hearts and souls. We are immediately connected to and accessing the divine when we choose, consciously make these choices. That's exciting. And I see it more now happening, and people don't maybe necessarily realize it, what they're doing. But people are getting the idea that I'm tired of this. And now instead of staying stuck in telling everybody why I'm stuck and upset about this, we're finally making this shift to what do we want? So I know what the no is. I'm saying no to this. And for the longest time, we got stuck in the no. But now, consciously being awake, we're saying yes. Yes to what we want. Yes. The next quote I want to share is, I love Eric Butterworth. He's a great author. And he says, demonstration, which if you're not familiar with this word, same as manifestation, same as things showing up in our lives. Demonstration is not working magic. It's not working miracles. It's not the something out of nothing kind of process. It's releasing your imprisoned splendor. I'm going to say that again. It's releasing your imprisoned splendor. That which you desire is already within you. It's right here. All we have to do is recognize it. So again, we're consciously and unconsciously creating our lives. Again, remembering this law or the action part of the divine is always saying yes. So when we reveal truth in any circumstance, whether it's healing ourselves, offering forgiveness, that's a powerful one. We consciously and intentionally choose to change our lives from this limited aspect to this positive possibility, then we're recognizing our new beliefs expressing. And we recognize that the more we do this, we're flexing our spiritual muscle, right, through our practices, that our life changes for the better. Our faith, our belief, excuse me, drink here, excuse me. All right. Our belief and faith that we are worthy, though, is very vital. How we see ourselves. Remember, I said it begins with us becoming self-aware. That's good. Okay, I recognize that my thoughts have something to do with what's showing up and how my life is expressed and showing and coming up in front of me in my reality. But so often we don't find ourselves worthy. And just as like a small seed is planted and tended to with its vital needs, we must also know and are knowing that we must nurture ourselves and attend to ourselves with love. Right? So I can't ask for something in a sense that I don't recognize I already have. I may be asking for a sense, a greater recognition of it in my life, but I have to recognize it and recognize that I'm worthy. Otherwise, it's kind of like inviting guests. Like I want to have a great party, but I don't open the door. They're there. They want to come in. I don't recognize them. I don't open the door. We don't have this sense of being worthy enough to receive what we're saying yes to. So in other words, we're blocking what's called the law of giving and receiving, right? So as we give, we receive. But if I don't recognize I have it, or if I don't see that I'm worthy enough, that I have the power of that presence within me, I may be giving just a little bit out and I'm asking for a whole lot in return. And it can't work that way. Okay. So if I'm not feeling the love and I'm asking for love and I'm saying yes to love, we have to do something. Okay. Hold it in our mind, hold it in our heart. But then let's be that love slowly, comfortably. There's no reason to force this, right? But slowly do things again that show it that we're putting our yes on. We're all in. Okay. So otherwise, again, we're simply blocking our own creativity. I want to watch the time. Perfect. Okay. So this whole process we call cause and effect, again, that we're recognizing our power. We're the cause of what's showing up. Okay. In essence, it's not just us, but again, we're choosing what to allow divinely through us to show up in our lives. And the more curious we get, the better mindset that we have of worthiness, of positivity, of recognizing that, how does he say it, imprisoned splendor. The more we say this to our yes, then we begin to release the suckiness for success in our lives. That's a lot, right? It feels good, and it's simple, and yet we can make it really difficult. So let's move on to another quote here by author David Walker. He says, "You are worth more than you will ever experience, but you will only experience what you think you're worth." So again, another way of recognizing that, hey, what we say and how we feel about ourselves is vital. My sense of worthiness. How do I do that? I release self-judgment. I let that go. We have to work on forgiving ourselves, right? I can't give you what I don't have. If I haven't forgiven myself, I truly can't offer you forgiveness because I haven't experienced. I can give it to you to the level that I've experienced. But then if I'm holding it within, that's going to filter how our yes shows up. All right. So again, I just want to close with the recognition that the universe only has one yes, and it's saying yes all the time. Yes, there is one power, one presence that is infinite, that is eternal, that is all-knowing, and it's right here, right now. We're saying yes to the idea that I recognize me as that presence and power right here, right now, in human form, and that I am worthy. I am not separate. Jesus talked about the Father and I are one. And looking back, of course, he had to talk to the masses, in other words, how they would understand it. And we can understand it in a different way. The Father was the figure that took care of everybody back then. The Father was supposed to know everything and guide everyone and be the wise sage. And so now we're recognizing that, yes, there is definitely an intelligence greater than we're aware of. And yet we can tap into that and use that. We're saying yes to the recognition that what we want is fine. It's not what somebody else wants. And recognizing that it's not hurting anybody else, that it is what the divine wants to express. And we trust that law, we plant the seed in the soil, and we release it and say, now go, do your thing. I want to end with a great parable. And this is a parable called The Eagle. Wait, and I want to make sure I didn't have another quote. I think I did. Yes. Let me add this quote in before the parable. Choosing is the act of creation. The most important choices you make are the choices about how you see yourself, the universe, and your relationship to the universe. So again, finishing up on this idea of we matter. Our thoughts matter, not just to ourselves, because we're all one. So when one becomes more self-aware, it affects everybody. It's that ripple effect. Okay, I want to make sure we close out here. So the parable of the eagle, and it's an adaptation, but it goes like this. It says, a man went into the woods. He wanted to catch a bird, which he could take home. He caught a young eagle, and he put him in the backyard with the chickens, ducks, and turkeys. And he gave him chicken feed to eat, although he was an eagle, the king of birds. 5 years later, he was visited by a man who loved nature. And while they were walking together in the garden, the naturalist observed, that bird is not a chicken, he's an eagle. Yes, said the first man, that's true, but I have raised him as a chicken. Now he is no longer an eagle, but a chicken, even if he has a 3-meter wingspan. No, said the other man, he will always be an eagle because he has the heart of an eagle and he can fly very high in the sky. No, said the first man, he really is a chicken now and he will never fly. Then they decided to try an experiment. The naturalist took the eagle, lifted him up, and said with great feeling, who are you, eagle? You belong to the sky and not to this earth. Use your wings and fly. The eagle sat on the man's fist and looked around him. Behind him, he could see the chickens pecking at their grain, and he jumped down towards them. The first man said, see, I told you that he was a chicken. No, replied the naturalist, he is an eagle. Try again tomorrow. The following day, the visitor took the eagle again, lifted him up. Eagle, you are an eagle, he says to the eagle. Use your wings and fly. But once again, when the eagle saw the chickens, he just hopped down and joined them. Then the first man said once again, I've already told you, he's a weakling. No, replied the other, he is an eagle, and he still has the heart of an eagle. Let's try again tomorrow. The following morning, the naturalist got up early, took the eagle, and left town, going far away to the foot of a high mountain. The sun was just rising, gilding the summit of the mountain, each peak resplendent in joy of a beautiful new day. He lifted up the eagle and said to him, Eagle, you are an eagle. You belong in the sky and not to this earth. Use your wings and fly. The eagle looked around him, trembling as if filled with a new life. But he did not fly. Then the man who loved nature let the eagle look directly at the sun. And suddenly he stretched his powerful wings, took off with an eagle's cry, flew higher and higher, and never came back. So, what does that mean? Well, it's symbolic, right? We can never forget who we are. There is that source, that presence, that spirit that we all are. Even if we've somehow forgotten, we can have people remind us who we are. And don't ever stop wanting the best for yourself. And as we turn our face, our presence to the sun, which is symbolic of the divine, we will remember more and more and more of who we are and recognize the oneness and the wholeness that all life is, one step at a time. So maybe there's some of us are still acting more like chickens right now, and that's okay, because what we do know is that there is a source, a divine source that infinitely and unconditionally loves us and will never stop shining until we choose to recognize that we are eagles, spread our wings, and fly. Thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed the talk. Let me close with a prayer. Please feel free to get comfortable any way you choose. I'm going to close my eyes and I'm going to say yes to that yes right now in this presence, recognizing just the joy that this service is bringing me, and I know is bringing you. That we call down and say yes to this divine presence as a spiritual community for CSL St. George, for the whole city and town. And I know that beautiful loving sense ripples out through all of Utah and continues on. Recognizing and knowing that each of us is recognizing and knowing that divine yes is who we are, and that each is worthy of that divine yes, no matter what it is that we want. We put it on. We have the courage to clothe ourselves with our yes, that our wants, our desires, we say yes to those. That is okay. We say yes to fun in our lives. We say yes to releasing what no longer serves us in our life. We say yes, and as we release it to the law, we trust and we know that it will be delivered perfectly, with ease and with grace. And then we get the yes of recognizing it showing up in our lives, and that we have truly communicated and been heard and loved by that which we call our source. It's the same source and presence that we are. I recognize this now in its fullness. I bless each and every member of CSL St. George, the leadership, the practitioners, the core council, for doing mighty work in the absence of a senior minister. This is a blessed spiritual community. I know that each will continue to be blessed. I release this prayer. I know it is good, and so it is.
Thank you, Joe. Saying that yes is such a simple, but what a profound, powerful practice it is. And I just wanted to say, I agree with you completely. The time that we're living in now, we are consciously aware, and we are waking up, and you can see it everywhere. So
yeah, as long as we open our eyes, we're seeing it.
Absolutely. Now, are you joining us on Zoom?
Absolutely.
Okay, because I think many people will have some questions for you besides discussing that wonderful talk. So we'll see you in a bit.
Yes, join us, please.
Okay, I have some announcements, a lot of announcements, I think, today. So our annual meeting and social gathering, we're kind of combining the two, is next Saturday, April the 19th, and it's at the Cotton Cove Park. We have met there before. In fact, last year our annual meeting was held there. So please join us. The meeting will be at 12, and then the social from 1 to 3. We will be voting. We will be taking care of business, the budget business. So please join us if you can. Especially, we need all members out for this annual meeting. So our practitioners are planning something fun on May the 7th. It's a labyrinth day. They'll be hosting it. It's at the Wind Chime Farm in central Utah. Put that on your calendar and you'll have more details more details shortly. So join Sue for the book club. I believe that's on Thursdays. Yes, Alchemy, the Zoom book club. So join her from 6 to 7. You've got the link. It's in our Facebook page if you need the link. Hosted by Sue and Anita. So we're doing a humanitarian relief effort for Ukraine. If you go to our website, there's more information on how we all can help with it, be it financially or with our prayers for peace. So please look up that website. Spread the love. Tithing and offerings are going to help us relocate to a new location. So you can give online many ways. Go to PayPal, you can write us a check, or you can just scan the link there that you see on the slide. And we thank you very, very much for your support. And as you support us, we are here to support you. So please reach out to us if it's calls, if it's prayers, if it's whatever we can do for you. Just a conversation on the phone. And speaking of conversations, we hope you will join us on Zoom today, where we meet every Sunday at 12. I think that will give you an opportunity too, after Joe's speech, if you've got questions for him, please join us. There is a breakout session that our practitioner, Bill, can do prayer if you wish it. So join us on Zoom from noon to 1. Next week, our old friends. So Dance with the Donkey. Boy, these are such interesting titles for April. But next on the 10th will be Eugene Holden, who is always delightful. And then the following Sunday on the 17th, Reverend Savannah Noel. So join us again. There's always something happening here. So in a few minutes, Marina's going to pop us all up together and we'll read our closing affirmation. I think we're here. The gang's all here.
We are here.
Okay, here we go. Something wonderful is happening through me right now.
It is this thing called life.
Life is in my mind, life is in my body, life is in all that I do.
I am it, I embrace it, and I share it.
Just the way that it is.
And just the way that it is becoming.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Life.
Yes.
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 Perfect.
Well, thank you, everybody.
Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Well done. Let's
Bye.
chat.
Good Sunday.
See you on Zoom.
Yep.